Chris actually sent me an email saying, "This sounds like fun." I looked at it and I thought, yeah, it does sound like fun. I was kind of surprised that you sent that to me and sort of hinted that you might like to do it, because typically you don't like to discuss politics with me. And I was very glad to receive it.
So I'm really glad that you did. I was surprised. I didn't think you'd follow through on it, and I was really glad that you did. You and I we like to debate, but in recent years I have not enjoyed our political debates because I get very passionate and very upset, and I'm not comfortable with the way I am in those conversations because I feel so strongly about what we're talking about, and I feel like we're just playing a tennis match instead of really trying to talk about issues in a values kind of way. So I told you I don't want to talk about politics anymore, and I felt really great about that because I felt like then we started talking about other things and we started laughing together more. And the reason that I sent you that email is because you had recently said to me, "I sure would like to have a political conversation sometime if you're ready." And I kind of mentally reviewed the headlines of the day and said, "Nope, I'm not ready yet." And then I saw this and I thought, well, this could be a way for us to have a structured conversation where we're not directly talking about politics, but we're talking about the values behind it. So I'm really glad that you applied.
Although I like debating with you, I thought, well, this is perfect. It's not a debate.
Yeah.
Okay, you go.
Okay, so we talked about how we grew up in the same family, and yet we really have very different takes on things. And you commented we're on opposite sides of the fence. And I'm just wondering how you saw the formation of your opinion. Was it in opposition to my opinion, or how did your perspectives form?
I think because I was listening to you and Dad debate the issues of the day, and I was really young when this started and sort of grew up with it. As long as you were living at home, I was listening to it. I don't know. I've been thinking about that. It could be because, it was my father taking on my sister, and I sided with my father, and I think that may have been the start. Another thing I was thinking about is Mom is a very traditional values person. And then when I started paying attention for myself, I started to see things from the conservative perspective. Now, as I've aged, I tend to move a little more to the middle, and there are things that I never supported that are typically conservative values. And but that's
what are you talking about?
Well, I think when the religious right is compared to radical groups, I don't agree with that. I don't think they're radical groups, but at the same time, I think that their view of the world is somewhat narrow and unaccepting in certain cases, like gay marriage, for example. Let them marry, for crying out loud. I mean, love is love, but that sort of thing.
One of the things that influenced me a lot in my values was spirituality, and as a child, it was Christianity. And as a teen in the 70s, my friend Karen and I got very involved in the sort of the Christian coffee house movement, and I really took that to heart. And I really became radicalized by the message of Jesus and felt very much like, wow, what we're called to do is not easy, and you need to kind of have a certain amount of courage to be able to be a Christian. So I felt like that really formed one of my values. And you mentioned traditional values from Mom, particularly. She has a very traditional point of view, but yet politically she's kind of progressive. And I think that one of the things she modeled for me was these aren't just things that we say, these are things that we do.
I think my earliest memories of Mom's political stance was when she was bemoaning the fact that Nixon was guilty, because she believed up until the end that he wasn't. I think she may have been the only person in America who didn't think that Nixon was guilty. I think everybody is basically a contradiction on some level, that they identify one way, but there's always elements of the other way involved in how they think and feel. It's certainly the case with me. For example, I am totally anti-death penalty. I don't see how you justify death with death. I've never had reason to really want to see somebody else dead. I understand that people feel that way. I think that overall, though, that's just an emotional reaction to a terrible situation, and were it not for that heightened state of emotion, maybe they'd feel differently.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that about your thoughts on the death penalty. I think, hearing that, it makes me think about how voting for a politician these days is kind of like picking an insurance package. You just have to take everything that comes in there, even though you'd rather sort of put it together a la carte and take the things that you like and construct it the way you want to. You kind of have to say, well, I'm voting conservative, therefore I take on all of these conservative values as well, even though I disagree with some of them, or vice versa. I'm voting in a Democratic
That's
ticket.
interesting, because I don't. I say I'm voting one particular way because this person most closely reflects my feelings about what direction the country should go in and how to handle this or that. But there are things that I won't identify with as part of what you say, the package that comes with a politician. And I reject those things, but I accept that there's nothing I can do about it. You take the bitter with the better.
I feel like in our family, our broader family, I get pegged as the idealist, the naive, everybody should just hold hands and sing Kumbaya idealist. Do you see me that way?
No, I always pegged you as a lunatic. Well, I don't know. I'm an idealist. We just have different ideals.
Thanks to Chris Medvesic and David Ravishir for participating in One Small Step, a program designed by StoryCorps. They had many more things to say to each other on a range of subjects. At the end, when David asked if Chris would be willing to continue their political conversations, she said, "We'll see." You can find more One Small Step recordings at azpm.org.